It is important to understand the purpose and context of your analysis before embarking upon visualizations. This understanding will help you to determine the types of visualization needed. These visualizations often tend to fall into two categories. At a high level, these are exploratory and explanatory. Well, technically there are three, as a hybrid between the two exists: exploratory, explanation. These all serve different purposes, and the visualizations and tools to support them are generally different as well. First, let's define each category, and then we'll go into a few visualizations that fit each definition and why it works for that purpose. Let's start with exploratory. This type of visualization lends itself to lots of data, and you are not sure what's in the data. As such, your goal is to explore it and get a sense for what it is telling you. This is typically done at a much more granular level than an explanatory analysis. By visualizing large amounts of data, it can help you quickly recognize patterns, trends, outliers, and so on. Now let's talk about explanatory. This type of visualization is typical for when you already understand your data and its nuances, often through previous exploratory visual analysis. As such, your aim with explanatory visualization is to tell a story you already know. These are simple visualizations and often are summarized data aimed at conveying a clear message. Then there is exploratory explanation. This hybrid type of visualization often involves the explanatory style visualizations on summarized data, but allows users to filter and drill into categories. With that description I just gave, can anyone think of something we just covered that fits into this hybrid approach? I'll give you a couple seconds to consider. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I would have to say that you would be correct if you were thinking of dashboards as an excellent example of this. Dashboards present summary level information, often operational in nature, but allow filtering or drilling into specific numbers for further details. These truly are a hybrid approach. Since we already covered dashboards earlier in this course, I won't discuss additional examples of the hybrid exploratory explanation approach in this video. We will instead cover some examples showing the differences between explanatory and exploratory visualization. First, let's go over some exploratory visualizations and talk about what makes them more exploratory in nature. This cause of death data set is a great example of data with large volumes of information needing to be analyzed for findings. What makes it so large? It has numerous disease states, countries, models, statistical methods, and various other data points. This is shown with the filter on the left side of the screen. Here we have visualizations of mortalities by age groups for all the possible slices of data available via filters. These age groups are represented in the area on the right-hand side of the screen. Here is another large data set that studies the burden of disease to a vaccine rate. A user may wish to explore this location-based data in an easy way to draw conclusions. Mapping the data and showing how prevalent the disease burden presents is a much easier way than graphs and tables. With many filters and settings, there's a lot to discover in these exploratory visualizations. I will encourage you to explore these two VizHub sites on your own. Now let's go over some explanatory visualizations and talk about what makes them more explanatory in nature. Here's a visual that is a relatively simple way to show that the U.S. healthcare system way outspends and way underperforms the rest of the world currently. If you look at the left of the chart, it also shows the United States closer in line during the 1970s, but over the next 45 years quickly deviated. This visual simply aims to explain the fact that people in the U.S. don't live as long as other comparable countries, despite spending well more than the rest on healthcare. Keeping with the theme of the U.S. healthcare costs being high, here is a visual on the percentage of spending from the national budget. This shows a trend to support the fact that we spend a large and ever-increasing share on Medicare and Medicaid. It is another way to illustrate the point that the example we previously covered is valid. By presenting different explanatory visualizations that support each other, you further validate the data whose outcome is already known to you. Let's wrap things up. Both methods of visualization we discussed in this video have their place, be it exploratory for an analysis or explanatory for a summary of already known outcomes. Exploratory tends to be more granular and potentially complex than explanatory visualizations. Understanding what you need to do with the data should guide the method.